let's get out of the real estate and the tech and all of that, right? Let's talk about what advice you would give to your 21-year-old self.
Strap in. I would say strap in, find your mentors, listen to your mentors, and make enough time for the fun things in life, because I think you can get so caught up sometimes in working so hard and climbing the career ladder when ultimately, like, life's short. And I think that, like, the time you spend with, like, your friends and your family and doing your hobbies and the things you love, and I think that if you can find that in work, great, but don't not make time for it in other areas of your life.
No, I mean, I think, like, you know, we do that a lot, especially in startups. It's all consuming, right? It's not switch off at 5, unfortunately. That's what we sign up for. And that's fine in the sense that it's fulfilling, which is why we do it. We get up, you get to wake up every day and say, I'm democratizing access to real estate investment for every individual in the UAE. And I think that's big. And I think that's worth waking up for, right? But at the same time, it's like the moments with your family, the moments with, you know, all your friends and things like that, the things that you're not going to get when, and, you know, obviously we're young and, like, we're doing this right now, but when you're 45, 50 and so on, like, it's a very different game, and everyone's probably in a much different stage of life because they've all gone on to become partner at McKinsey and Bain and things like that, you know, and you've done your fair share of grinding and probably way higher ups and way lower downs. In that time, finding alignment or finding that middle ground where you can actually switch off your brain for a second and don't have to be a real estate expert.
I wish I knew how to do that.
Yeah, I know. And it just becomes a meme. Like, you know, whenever I walk into a, like, you know, a chai thing that all of our friends put together, it's like, the entrepreneur is here. Let's go. Like, you know, so it's just one of those things. But, you know, I do think that's a very valuable piece of advice. You do need to take a step back and, like, you know, remember that life is pretty big and short at the same time.
Very short. And I think, you know, like, I read so many books and so many podcasts, and I love it, but every podcast I listen to of every successful entrepreneur or business person, their biggest regret is always, I wish I made more time for my friends and my family. And I always think about that, because I think that career is so important, and don't get me wrong, I love what I do, but, like, I think those are really important moments, and I think that, you know, we can sometimes forget about that when you're caught up in all consuming moments.
No, I completely agree. Well,
what about yours? What's your advice to your 21-year-old self?
Well, I'm not that far from 21 right now. No, I think it's kind of very the reason I resonated so much with what you said is just that, right? I think happiness is a very you know, elusive thing, and I do think that for me, you know, the hustle, the grind, the, you know, startup founder, let's do it, right? Like, I've been doing it for about 5 years, 6 years now, roughly, and 3 years in this particular venture, and it's like, it takes up everything. It takes up your whole time and your entire being. And I don't know how to describe that in any other way.
Becomes your identity.
Yeah, it becomes my identity. And I don't complain about it. I love it, right? But at the same time, you kind of, you know, you miss the little gatherings at the Weatherspoons, and you miss the little gatherings that, you know, people have on, like, big family vacations and things like that. Because and then when you're actually on vacation, the privilege to be actually switched off, which I never want, right? But at the same time, I understand that other people have, is like, you know, I don't need to check my emails, I don't need to check my WhatsApp, that's not happening for me ever, right? And I don't want that either, because I'm very, like, protective of what I'm building, and like, you know, I want to know what's going on 24/7. But at the same time, it's like, what's that like, you know? Right? So
curiosity. Name.
Exactly.
And it's probably, like, more daunting.
Yeah, but I think the grass is always greener, right? And that's just what it is. So my advice to my 21-year-old self would be, you know, just be present. Don't take yourself too seriously, and always treat everyone the same way. It doesn't matter. I think I've met, like, you know, I've met billionaires, I've met ministers of different countries doing different things at my, very old age. And what I've realized is the realest conversations you have with these people is when you treat them as an equal, not when you're like, just going in there as some sort of like fan, right? If you're a fan, you've already like lost. You're not going to have a one-on-one. It's just, you're just being spoken at, and that's pretty much all that's happening. So that's
I think it is. It's so important. And I think that there's almost like a appreciation, I think, when you're young, that I think like I really try to take advantage of. People have such a understanding when you're young of like failing, not getting things right, asking questions. The more senior you get in your career and the more you advance, there's almost like, I don't know if there's an internal thing, but you kind of have less tolerance for it, because you think, I've got 8 years of experience under my belt now, I should know absolutely everything about everything. And the truth is, like, no one knows everything. I genuinely, the more you kind of get you just realize everyone is figuring it out along the way, and everyone is learning along the way. And I think it's so humbling. Like, I've had some of my mentors say to me, and I've got some fantastic mentors that I genuinely think the world of, and I'm so blessed to know. And they turn around and they're mid-40s saying, I actually don't know, and I'm figuring it out. And it's so refreshing to hear that. And I think too often we feel like we should know all the answers, and you should be able to like have the answer to everything. The truth is you don't. And I think we're all figuring it out along the way.
And I think that's actually a very like interesting piece, just because I think a lot of young people think that they don't know enough. And that's why they let me put myself through this investment banking grind for the next 5 years. Let me then do an MBA for another 2 years and spend even more money on that. And then I will have social proof the shit out of my life to an extent where the world will see me as invincible, right? But the CEO of that company doesn't know any more than you do. In fact, you're doing the work for them, right? And like, obviously they have intelligence and nuances and, abilities that you don't have because they have years on you. But at the same time, the differences that are there, like, aren't as significant as you'd believe. The second you have that unlock, it's like, why am I not doing what they're doing? You're like, as some may say, in the matrix. So, but anyways, that's